Hi and welcome to this tutorial on painting a miniature in the style of NURGLE. In this video we'll show you step by step how to create gruesome and corrupted look for your miniature using a palette of white and desaturated colors. I will guide you through the process of selecting the right colors, applying different techniques, and adding finishing touches to create a miniature that is truly worthy of the plague god himself. I will also discuss some common challenges that you may encounter along the way and provide tips and tricks for overcoming them. This is the first video in a series dedicated to this miniature, that is Obitus from Kimera models, and I will cover the entire process from start to finish. Here I will cover the color choices, base coating and my thought process for these initial but crucial steps. So grab your paintbrush and let's get started. Oh, and don't forget to visit pegasoworld.com to buy Kimera colors and miniatures to create your own work of art. Okay, as you can see, I primed the model black, and I'm using as my palette the black, the white, the oxide green, magenta, honeymoon yellow, violet, and the orange from scale 75, the artist series. This is because it's not too strong as an orange. I started by mixing white, oxide green, a little bit of honeymoon yellow, and magenta to create a gray base. This gray base will be used as a base color for my whitish armor. I want the armor to be a little bit on the thick white, let's say, that resemble NURGLE color, the plague champions, let's say. So I start by mixing those color and base coating roughly the armor parts. The initial palette is chosen in this way because, as you can see, the colors are basically primaries and secondaries, but shifted toward a little bit of desaturation and colder colors. I'm avoiding the blue because I don't want the model to look too blue, too natural in a way. So I'm using all the saturated colors as primaries. And by mixing those colors together all the time, you will end up having a cohesive palette that is moved towards the direction that you like. This is a good principle to work. And as you can see, I'm roughly base coating the model. You don't need to be precise at this stage. It's very important to not be precise if you want to be fast, because the successive passages of painting will be refining the work. So you don't need to be very good right now. And you can just go with the flow, prime, and be fast, basically. This is a good trick. The paint is a bit liquid and it's not covering too much. I did finish it off cam with a couple of layers. Then with magenta and white, I am creating a base tone for the skin. I'm adding the green to desaturate a little bit, and as you can see, it's not too yellow. This is to make the skin a bit thick, if you want, not too warm. It needs a little bit of warmth anyway, but it's more desaturated than you would expect, as you can see on the model itself. And I am base coating the same. I usually go into base coating several parts of the model before starting to do refinement, because it gives you a vision of the full painting before you start doing more advanced job, so you know if colors work together or not. And I finished base coating of gum, and now, as you can see, I'm creating a new nuance with the color I used for the skin. It is a little bit more dark. It's an intermediate situation between the armor and the skin to create the face of the shield. It's a way to tie colors together to create a new one, but it's still formed with the colors you already have in the palette. So it cannot go in direction that it will not work with the rest of the model. I repeat, this is a good trick. Work with what you have in the palette at the beginning, so your color scheme will always be cohesive with what you already did. The colors are there. And right now I'm wet blending with the pinkish tone in the middle of the face, the other tone that is intermediate on the outside, and I'm connecting it with the armor that is more green with the initial color. So you have a passage between all these three colors to tie the demon face of the shield all together. As before, you don't need to be very precise and very loose and just base coating and covering stuff. Not much precision required at this point. I keep increasing the pink part towards the gums to have a variation in color, and I make it more visible. When it's dry, it will be more evident. When you paint with a lot of water, like I am right now, you will need some layers to cover. As you can see, when it's dry and several layers later is good. Now with white, black, oxide green, a little bit of orange, I'm creating this gray tone that will be the base for another type of white. It needed a little bit of magenta because it was too cold compared to the rest. But it is a base to create a white pattern on the fabric part of the dress. So when you paint white, be it for the armor or for the dress, you need a gray base to start with. In that way, you can highlight to white if needed, or you can darken it if needed with black or with other colors. It's a good trick to paint white, be it of every type of color. Now oxide green, orange, lemon yellow, a little bit of violet. I'm creating a color to do some washes. The flow improver is very useful for washes and glazes. This wash is to tie things together more between the skin and the color of the armor, and I'm creating some early shadows on the armor, as you can see. Those shadows are warmer because I will keep the light of the model on the cold side, and it's also somewhat of a sick brown, greenish brown, let's say, to to make the shadows and give the feeling of of dirtiness, of sickness, if you like, that will be in the style of NURGLE. I'm going to cover a lot of the parts on the lower part of the armor because that needs to be darker than the upper part, and in the upper part is going to cover for the shadows, for the shadow part. I'm sorry for the out of focus camera right now, sorry. But I think it's clear right now the approach is going to be on the shadow part, on the part that I think dirt will accumulate. So this type of color is useful for this. The white appearance will be given to the armor by the highlights more than the shadows. This is what constitutes the appearance of the model mostly is midtones and highlights more than the color of the shadows. So you can play a little bit and find your own shades in the end. It's not too important. Here it is after drying. So now we have some shadows in place, not all of them. As you can see, I'm doing basically the same process with similar colors because I'm using always the same primaries in the end to create a thick dark red shadow for the skin. And with the flowing brower, I'm creating a wash basically. So I'm washing the skin to deepen the shadows and make it start to look 3D. It's not important to be extremely precise again. You can recover the midtones later if you need it. So it's not too important. But if you can be precise, it's less work later, or at least choose the right spots to put the shadows. This mean is in the underside of the muscles and on the sides of the model, because we are usually looking the model from the front or the back, so the sides should be a little bit darker than the front to give it more a 3D feeling. Also, to separate fingers is very useful, this thing. So yeah, checking where to put the shadows is good. And you can see where I am putting the color. Try to pay attention. In a future video, I will tackle the light and shadow placement in a stronger way with a black and white model, but for now you can see that I am putting things that are not hit by the sun in shade, and I'm leaving alone the parts that instead would be highlighted by the natural light source in this case. If you have a lateral light source, it would be different, but right now we are painting with an ideally zenithal light. I'm defining a little bit the various muscle and putting it also in the recesses. The recesses later will need a part of black lining, but for now it's good also this color to start to increase the shadows. I'm also increasing the shadow in the lower part of the belly area to give it more volume and more attention, because it's lighter, to the higher part of the model itself, of the chest itself. This is an important trick to use. Thank you for joining me for this first tutorial of the series. As you noticed, I kept my palette desaturated by using the oxide green in every part of the model, as I was base coating it. I also avoided using a normal red and I instead opted for a colder magenta, and my yellow was more of an ochre. These choices will impact the final look on the model, and starting with a limited palette and being conscious about it is one of the keys to success. Hope you found the information and tips useful. Remember, painting miniature is not always easy and it can take some time to perfect your skills. But with practice and patience, you can create some truly impressive work. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please be sure to like and subscribe our channel. I look forward to sharing more chapters in the series with you in the future, and until then, happy painting!